Oh yeah, you go
Hey,
live on YouTube. Well done.
This is Yitzias Mitzrayim right here. Yitzias Mitzrayim. So okay, beautiful. Okay, we're live. Toon's course, men's program. Start.
Oh yeah, you go live on YouTube. Well done.
This is Yitzias Mitzrayim right here.
Oh, you need to close your YouTube station.
Okay, so okay.
Just close it on your window or mute it.
Okay. Toon's course, men's program.
Oh yeah, you go live on YouTube. Well done.
This is Yitzias Mitzrayim right here.
Oh, you need to close your YouTube station.
So how do I do that? Okay, so
Just mute it or X one of the windows that YouTube's on.
I think I did it.
Okay, it'll continue recording to it.
Right, I press the top over here. This button, right?
Yeah, just the tab. That's fine. Just close the tab.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, let's go. Let's start. So it's like this. We said, "Tzrichim hadayanim nisrachik b'chol hayachelesh leikav aleihim ladun din Torah." So the judges are obligated.
But we should all put on mute because it kind of disturbs. We should put on mute just now while we're listening to you.
It's not a mute?
I'm going to mute mine. We have to all mute our own while we're listening to you. Otherwise, it gets disturbed.
Oh, okay. Fine, no problem. Okay, so let's start. The judges are obligated to keep away from basically ladun din Torah, from judging according to the din Torah, right? According to strict law. So as we said before, there's the peshara, there's the din, there's peshara, which is making an agreement or coming with a settlement. And then there is a concept of ladun din Torah, which is basically to judge a din Torah, strict law. So where's the source for all this? And I saw very interesting. I saw on the side there was a Bir Hagra, right? And he brings down the whole source. He said over here, 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. He says Yerushalmi Parak Aleph right here. The Vilna Gaon hits us right away. Rabbi Yisrael Chalafta, that it says Asan Train, right? Two people came in front of him, and they asked him basically that we want to get judged in front of you. Right? He says that we want a din Torah. We don't want to do a peshara. Any idea din Torah? That he says, I don't know how to do a din Torah. And then in the days of Rabbi Yishim Bar Yochai, it says, "Batlu dinim amanais amar Rashbi bricha chamana leker chachim midan." I mean, it seems he doesn't. It's not a full quote, right? He jumps around over here a little bit. We'll see that soon in the actual Yerushalmi. But it is good to just see this. How the Gemara right away he sends you straight there. He sends you straight there. Okay, so. First, we spoke about in general the concept of where's the source that we have mediation or settlement, right? And we said that Rabbi Shiur ben Karach is really the one that says that mitzvah livtzaya. It's a mitzvah. It is a commandment to have a betua, to have a peshara, an agreement. That this is the source over here. Now this comes after really. This comes after there was really a machlokes. Oh, here we go. So this comes after there was a machlokes in the Gemara a little earlier than that. That you have Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon ben Asya, and Rabbi Elazar and Shimon ben Asya, they were both arguing about whether are you even allowed to do a bitzua? Are you even allowed to have a peshara, to have a settlement, right? And we said that Rabbi Elazar says that basically it's asur livtzeh, you're not allowed to do it. Right? So whoever does this is he's a sinner. He's a sinner. which is interesting. And then Rabbi Shimon Asher says that he's like in the middle. He says the Shnaim Shabbat v'Nachal Adin Ashlei Tishma Devreim Oishu Tishma Devreim Yati Dila Hechant Naita. He basically says that basically you can kind of give them a choice, right? And he says up to what point allowed to give them a choice, as long as you don't really know where the din is going to go. We learned all this already. Okay, well, just good to go. Now here's the Yerushalmi. Okay. This Yerushalmi, it took me a while to find this Yerushalmi. He said in the beginning of Sanhedrin, for some reason, when someone tells you the beginning of Sanhedrin, you always right away you go to like page 5, daf hey, daf vav, then you realize you go back to the beginning. So I finally found it. So it's like this. Yeah. Here we go. Sorry. Yeah, Rabbi Yosi bar Chalafta. Rabbi Yosi bar Chalafta. He says, interesting. His last name is Chalafta. It's like Chalipin, like a king of Chalipin. I don't know. Right. So, anyways, Rabbi Yosi bar Chalafta, Asim Tein bar Nash Midon Kumai. So two people came in front of him to be Midon Kumi to be judged. He said to them, he said to them, they said to him, they said to him that we want to be judged according to the Din Torah. He said to them, he says, I don't know the Din Torah, but the idea machshavos, the one that knows all thoughts, Hashem, he will pay. He's going to bring retribution from these people. We're going to look right in a second into the Pnei Moshe. We'll see what this means. Yeah. Okay. So I took an actual Yerushalmi out because it seems like there's no real Pnei Moshe in Safaria. So he said like this. This is the Pnei Moshe. The Pnei Moshe says that what did Rabbi Yosi bar Chalafta mean when he said that any idea Din Torah, I don't know any laws of Torah. So he says so he said like this. But rather, I'm going to judge you according to your claims. And the idea of machshavos, meaning God, He will bring retribution. He will pay from those men hate'anin sheker, who are saying false claims. But nevertheless, if you still want me to go and judge you, then you have to accept upon yourself what I'm going to say to you, right? So this is the original source of the halacha we're learning right now. That in general, a dayan not only does he get, besides the fact that we learned in the middle of our siman, that a dayan, a judge, should always try to push the litigants to take a pashara. I'm sorry. Besides the fact that we told that the dayan should give a choice, right? The dayan's allowed to give a choice whether they want to have a din or a pashara. Besides that, the dayan also needs to give a little bit of he has to a little bit of a push, or to try to veer the litigants that they should accept a pashara on them and not a din. And we see over here from one of the reasons that it seems like that Rabbi Yosi bar Chalafta did not want at all to go and judge. And we'll continue a little bit. We'll see a little bit, this goes to a more extreme. So anyway, it says they accepted upon themselves, that they would do the judge. 1 second. Here's this thing interesting. It says Akiva was also standing, and people came and they said they also wanted to be judged. He's told them as well. You should know, Amalahem, have a yoidin lefnei miatam ayidim. You should know for who you are standing for. Lefnei misha amar v'haya ilam shneimar v'amdu shnei anashim ashlehem ariv lefnei Hashem lefnei Akiva ben Yosef. Don't think you're in front of Akiva ben Yosef. Don't think you're in front of me. But right now, when you're being judged before God, and therefore you should take the pshara over that. But I don't think they did that. Okay, here we go. Tell me,
doesn't mean 50-50, does it? It could be anything.
Pshara means a settlement. The different ways of how a settlement works. Sometimes it'll be 50. I mean, it depends on the case. It depends on the case, right? Depends on the case. Sometimes
I'm just thinking, if it was 50-50, right? Let's say it's always a pshara 50. So what's the point of going to Bet Din? Why can't they just understand that that's it? They're going to go there. I'm going to spend a lot of time and money and whatever going there. They may as well just do it themselves.
Right. I hear you saying. Sometimes you have a din king peshara. You have. It really depends on the case. It depends on the case what the Rav will do. Yeah. Depends on the case what the Rav will do. Yeah. Not always is going to be that. Not always every single case so clear what gets split, what doesn't get split. You know who's.
But sorry, isn't that the whole idea of the peshara? It has to be done at least with one dayan to solidify it, to make sure that both parties are going to adhere to the peshara, because they can both just say yeah we're going to do it, but that it needs to have, doesn't it have to have the kinyan, and it needs to have the one dayan, exactly. Or if there's three dayan, all have to agree. So it has to be. That's the reason why we take it to Beis Din, yeah. So all sides will adhere to the agreement.
Yeah, here we say, yeah, exactly. That could be another concept. Yeah, I mean, besides the know-how of how to split things up properly and what goes where, yes, you have if you want things to actually be done. So, but listen, we said you don't have to go to a Beis Din, right? You said a simple person can do it as well. You just need a kinyan. You said if you take 3 simple people and you have a kinyan, you could do it with that as well. You have to accept upon yourself what's going to happen. Most people want to go to someone that's more respected, with more. With more experience, but by Bashara, theoretically speaking, if you have a kinyan and you accept upon yourself whatever they'll say, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. And even, I said before, there's certain Beis Dins that today, if it's under a certain amount of money, they'll have one dayan as well with a kinyan. We said that as well. But in general, yeah, you want to have three, especially in a din. You're not going to have less than 3.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought the scenario would be that 2 people have a dispute and they come to the Beis Din and they both say, one says you owe me, no, I owe you, whatever it is, the dispute. And the Beis Din comes along and says, no, first of all, let's try to make a pshara. And so it's the Beis Din themselves that are introducing this idea to them. You can actually make an agreement between you, and that's the goal, and it's the mitzvah of the Beis Din we learned to actually do that.
Right.
Until we say here that actually, even the time of Rebbe Shimon Bar Yochai, that they didn't want to make any judgments and everything should be a pshara and let's just spread it equally. But nowadays, at the end of the Shiur, it says about the Chazon Ish says that we nowadays, okay, we haven't got such greatness in Torah, but nevertheless, we still have the ability to sort it out. And even that is called Torah, even if we're so far away from Sinai, it's still coming from Sinai.
Right.
The agreements they make. So it's that's the scenario. 2 people come in with a dispute, and then the Beis Din comes to try to make a pshara.
Right.
Rather than 2 guys agreeing themselves. If they agree themselves, then they don't need the whole thing. They come to agreement.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. No, people. If people are able to work out things themselves, yeah, it would be a different world, right?
Yeah, but then who's going to know that the other person's going to keep to the agreement? That's the thing.
Right. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. Okay. So anyways,
by the way, that's not so true. I'm just going to butt in here because it's not that true. People make agreements all the time, and you don't have to go to Bet Din to make agreements. You can have contracts, you can make kinyanim, you can do lots of stuff. And then only if somebody is not
Partly, yeah.
Doing what he agreed to do, then you could go to Bet Din. That would be a whole different matter, rather than going to get this to Bet Din to get the same agreement that you could have made outside Bet Din. It just seems a bit, in a certain way, it seems a bit pointless, because you could make an agreement. Okay, so let's say you have a dispute with you and you don't decide to come 50-50. So we say, okay, let's go to Bet Din. We go to Bet Din, we end up having 50-50 anyway. It just seems after a while that would be a little bit pointless.
My answer is that it really, every case is different, obviously. I think one of the main problems with two people working out something themselves is usually that it's not very objective, and it's usually going to be biased, and it's usually going to not work. So that's really the concept of a based in. You have people who are objective. They're not, they don't have any mixed, investments within whatever's happening. And then you make a kinyan. It kind of it ties everybody's hands. They get stuck to listing what's happening, and then everyone's able to kind of move forward. That's really the idea of a based in. And what we're saying over here is that, even though the Dayan is able to go and kind of, even though the Dayan is able to go and really just give a din, we see it. As we'll see right now in the Yerushalmi, there was a certain era that Dayanim, they made a certain decree that the Dayanim should not make any sort of judgment.
That's
right?
the interesting part.
Yeah, that's a very interesting part over here. So let's learn that quick. Then we learned that it said that so it says that 40 years before the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, capital punishment was stopped, because they basically realized that capital punishment wasn't working, right? It wasn't a deterrent, and it says that murder was rampant. In the days of Shiman Shatach, nitlu dinei mamanis. In the days of Shiman Shatach, it says that dinei mamanis was stopped. Monetary dealings. Dinei mamanis means judgment in money. Money matters were stopped. Yeah. So it says that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai comes and he says, thank God the Leina Chakim Midayin that we don't have to do this, right? Maybe the Pnei Moshe has to translate that. He says when Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that, he translates She'eni Yachal Adan Ve'ein Alai Einish Hamishvat V'cheshik Atma Me'adin Haya. L'pichach Amar Kain. He said basically that when someone came to him and asked him to judge, he said, I can't judge. And thank God because of this, I'm not going to judge because of this decree. And because of that, I won't have the judgment or the punishment of a dayan that messes up the judgment. So we see from here, some of the Rabbanim were very happy that they were not going to have to getting stuck with this concept. So based on that, let's look right now at the tour, how he looks at this entire thing. Okay, one second. I lost a tour over here. It didn't come in, so let's pull it up over here. Okay, so this is really the tour that we were really talking about. And I'm going to ask some questions that basically, it doesn't seem like the Torah is really quoting the Yerushalmi so well. He's kind of dicing it and cutting it up into pieces. Right? Okay. So, first of all, this is a chiddush over here. He says that he said in Sefer Mitzvahs, it says that the Dayanim should really try to distance themselves in all possible ways, that in order that they should not have to give a strict ruling, because the hearts have become small, right? Remember him saying this? The hearts have become small. Right? And we learned in the Yerushalmi Parakam in Sanhedrin, the Meir of Shimrechai, Batlu Dinimamanis. They stopped the Dinimamanis. Now this is interesting because let's look at, if you look at the Yerushalmi, where was that? Yeah, I mean, when it talks about Shimon, it doesn't really say that. I mean, so I guess the Torah is kind of like paraphrasing him. He says, in the days of Shimon Rechai, they stopped it. Okay. And then he continues and he says, in honor of Shimon Rechai, lest the Chakim bedin, right? I know that we're now, right? I mean, as the Pei Moshe said, no one today is able to judge these things. Let's look at that again. Right? The Lina Chakim bedin, okay. And then he continues and he says, I'm sorry. Rishi Bar Khalifta says, Bo based on Ashim the fun of Amalai Abanash to Nini to Hira Amalahem Dintera. Then he continues and he says, two people come in front of Rishi Bar Khalifta. He tells them they want to be judged according to Dintera. He tells them, I don't know how to judge you Dintera. But the interesting thing is he doesn't bring the last part that he ends up judging them according to Dintera. Right, and that's the question. Why is he not doing that? Why is the Torah kind of picking his way around the Yerushalmi? So let's look at the Bach. The Bach is over here on the side. Kasav b'Sefer HaMitzvos, right? Sefer HaMitzvos Agadol Aseh Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin, right? The Sefer HaMitzvos was, I think, one of the what's it called? Sorry, the Bahag was one of the Valiteisvisim, if I'm correct. And he said like this: right? That's what Shiur Berachai said. He said, "Thank God we don't have to do these things." And the idea is that he was thanking Hashem al shebitlu dinim amanesh meladin din Torah. They didn't have to go and give a real judgment. And he got saved from punishments. In you telling if you shehitik rabbeinu the lesachakam bedin, and right perush dashbi timer kamalama batlu dinim amanesh bisman ev amal shulafi kein shulchakam gamor sheyachal in Torah. And he's saying that the tours is basically bringing down Shiur Berachai over here is to tell you that what's the reasoning that all this was stopped was because at the level of Torah was not good. And this, I mean, that could be also why he only brings down the first part of Rabbi Yisrael Bar Chalafta, because he's trying to stress this idea that that they felt that era, because I guess there was so much destruction and things were happening to that level, or it could be as is brought down later on in Yerushalmi or the Bavli that once they left the Har HaBayis, I think we spoke in the material he brought down a Tosfos that said that once they left the Har HaBayis, they felt that a certain sensitivity that was taken away from them, right? When they were on the Har HaBayis, they had a certain, siyata d'shmaya, and they weren't worried about either the Yamamanais or capital punishment or monetary punishment. However, once they left the Har HaBayis, they felt that they lost this ability. So that's the basic idea. Then he spoke about, seemingly if everyone's so against this idea of giving a din, giving a judgment, so why is it today that we do give a judgment? We give him a choice. Either he could take the judgment or he could take the peshara, right? If so many of the big rabbis, these Tanoim, right, in the Gemara, they had a problem with the concept of a din, of giving a strict judgment. and and we say they really refrain from doing so. So that's the case. Why is it in the Shulchan Aruch, the Toen and the Shulchan Aruch and later commentaries, it seems like there's no problem with the idea of giving an actual din. So we gave some ideas, right? And Chaim kind of hinted onto that era they felt that they themselves had a higher level of spiritual sensitivity, and therefore they themselves were more nervous to go and pass in something that might be not 100% straight. That's a possibility. I'm also thinking that it is. Another possibility could be that when this was given, it was given strongly at a certain era when they felt, the Bnei Yisrael was really in a very chaotic time. But they felt, otherwise that wouldn't be the case. It also seems that from the answer of Rabbi Yisrael ben Chalafta, Rabbi Yisrael Chalafta says that I'm only going to judge you on condition that you're going to listen to what I'm going to tell you. So we ended up by saying that this could be maybe be another face to the statement that a dayan tells the litigants, that when he gives them this choice, right? Are you going to take a din or are you going to take a peshara? What he's also telling them is that if I give you a din, you're going to listen to me. You're going to makabel whatever's going to happen through that din. So because when he says that statement, he kind of everything is included within that statement. It's as if they're accepting upon themselves that they're going to follow the din, and they accept upon themselves that if anything is not necessarily 100% correct, they take that responsibility, and because they do that, then the dayan is able to go ahead with the din. That seems to be that seems to be a third possibility as to why they're able to do that. 1 second.
I remember that came up in last week's Shiur, that the complaints that the litigants had to agree that they're going to do what the dayan says, otherwise there's no point in doing it. That was like the onstart, I think, of the case. Wasn't that in last week's Shiur?
Last week's Shiur. I think last week's Shiur was about different ways that that's actually very interesting what you're saying. I hear you. That's interesting what you're saying. Last week's Shiur was basically how sometimes the litigants can get locked into the case without actually making a real kinyan, right?
Mm.
Yeah, last week was a smachta in kinyan.
Yeah. With different type of kinyan, which is not very clear. But this, that it's interesting. You're saying that could be why this halacha is at the end of over here, and not at the beginning when we were talking about giving choices to the dayan. Because it could be that over here we're talking about more subtle inferences, and that's what we're saying. This idea that the litigants have to accept upon themselves. So when the litigants agree that they're going to go for the din, they're really accepting upon themselves that whatever if the dayan messes up, it's going to be okay. So that could be. I'm just thinking that might be another reason as to why this halacha is specifically at the end of Yud Beis, not in the beginning, where the other halachas about din really are. So it could be an interesting thought over there to think about. Something to think about. Okay.
See, that's the way halacha works, doesn't it? It's a link. It's like chains, one after the other. 100%. And then obviously this is the last halacha in the series, so it's supposed to all gel together in one concept, and that holds all the chains together of all the previous sifim.
Yeah, 100%.
So they've come to the maskana. Look, rather not let's have judgment. Better, it was a mitzvah to begin with. We said that to begin with. It's a mitzvah for the dayanim to bring the litigants to a state of wanting to make a compromise. And here at the end, we say the dayanim say, well, we're bowing out. We don't want to do it anymore because we're not sure, because of the spiritual reason of the dayanim. They don't want to put their necks on the line if they give a wrong judgment. Right. And they don't know if the people are going to listen to them anymore anyway. Like we said now with the cases of capital punishment, it's not helping. Mm-hmm. 100%. So it's interesting.
Yes, right. I hear what you're saying. Right. Everything goes after the end, right? Okay. Yeah. So here's another interesting idea over here that he brings down at the end with Zalman Nechemia. That's all. And so Zalman Nechemia says, based on this, if a dayan wants to back out of a case when he has to give, when he has to make the din, if a dayan needs to pass a din, and he feels that he's not necessarily equipped for that din, then he's allowed to back out, right? Mm. I know there's an interesting story with the writer of. With Chaim Noah. Chaim Noah was once arguing with someone on a Shiur. So Chaim Noah was very into the Shiurim, making different. He has his opinions. What how much let's say a beya is or kazayas, how much that translates into what's it called into like modern measurements. That was one of his big things. Mm-hmm. So someone was once arguing with him on a Shiur. So he said, how are you arguing with me on this thing? This is my inyan. This is my thing. This is what I spent my entire life on, working out these shurim. How could you come and argue with me? This is what I know. This is So you see, there's a concept, of a certain part of Torah that's your inyan. So Zalman Nechemia says if a dayan feels that it's not necessarily his inyan, he doesn't feel confident in working with with that din, then he's allowed to step out, and he bases it on let me pull it up over here. The first halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. Let me get it real quick. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So he based it on this halacha over here. I don't know if let's go through real quick. It says that two people come to court, right? And one guy's a tough guy, one guy's an easy guy. So basically it says that the dayan's allowed to back out as long as he didn't listen to so as long as whether it's if he doesn't listen to their claims or he listens to their claims but he doesn't know yet where their claims are going, he's allowed to back out. So he bases on this that just like he's allowed to back out because he's afraid that that one of these guys is a dangerous fellow, they might come to harm him, he's allowed to back out. So he says the same thing applies if you're afraid, min hashamayim, and therefore you don't know your halachas well enough, and you want to back out. You're allowed to back out based on this halacha over here. So that's that's how he ends off the concept over here. Okay, it's 4:15. Let me just do one more small thing. It's interesting. So this is from the Baal Noachas HaShulchan on Misgaras HaShulchan. He writes in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. Here we go. I'll save the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So he writes here how to sell the chametz to the guy. I can post this up. You guys want to check it out. Very, very, very clear. Very interesting. So he says one of the things is like when you talk to the guy, to Ein Yehudi, it says that you should tell him that just because basically the guy, the non-Jew, even when he's acquiring the chametz, he's not taking all the chametz with him. The chametz is in the place where it's in the warehouses, in the people's closets. So you might think it's not a good sale. So he said one thing is you have to tell the guy that just like this, when people flip properties, right? How do you flip a property? You start the sale. You basically acquire the property. You have it on paper, and then you go and right away you sell to somebody else for a profit, right? So the same idea is over here. You don't the guy who's flipping the property. He doesn't have the property in his possession. The property is somewhere else, or the merchandise is somewhere else, but he's flipping it. The same idea as the guy. The guy doesn't need to have all the chametz in his hand. We're telling him just like someone can go and flip the merchandise. You can have all the chametz in your hand over chametz. I'm sorry. You can have on paper all the chametz in your hand. You acquired it, and then after Pesach, you'll decide what to do with it. Either you can sell it to somebody else, you can sell it back to us, you can sell it to the Arab Calvin, however you want to do it. But the idea is that you could we tell them it's a real sale.
That's how commodities work.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, that's how that's the concept over here with the guy. He's taking it. He doesn't have to acquire, but still a totally good sale. Another thing we do is we have this is a Chabad thing. We have Arab Kabbalah, right? The Arab Kabbalah basically says that if things don't work out well, he's gonna cover all the money. If someone can't bring the money to the table, he's gonna help out to complete that. So that really it solidifies the what's it called again? It solidifies the sale even better. I think the Alter Rebbe was the one that brought this idea. That's another thing. And then over here is the Shtar Mechira. Right, it says Le'ha'ina Yehudi, to non-Jew that lives wherever he lives. Right? We have it in English as well. Okay, I'll put it on the chat. You guys can read through it if you want to look at it. It's interesting to look at for in honor of the Chesed Mishpah class and exactly. All right.
I heard of a case in Israel where they were trying to be machmir and get all the people to actually bring the trolleys, all the families to bring the baby trolleys, all the prams to some sort of garage so the goy could actually see them, and they're all there and they locked them all up. They came back after Pesach and the goy had taken the lot and sold them, got rid of them. They just lost the lot. So it just shows you it was a real sale. I heard it actually happened in Yerushalayim somewhere.
Well, I heard once that someone sold a factory and the guy wanted to keep the factory, so they worked out a deal. But he guy got stuck. It's a real sale. It's a real sale.
It's a proper sale, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, everybody, we're not going to have a class this coming week, Chol Hamoed, and also Issachar. We're probably not going to have a class. So we'll
so for 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks.
Right. So yeah, I guess we'll put an update right after Pesach what the next class will be. Also, a reminder: make sure you sell your chametz.
Yeah.
And have our Pesach.
Pesach.
Yeah.
Will we get notes? Are we going to get any notes, or are they going to just come when you give the shiur?
What do you mean? Like
Not that I'll have any time, but
the next year, you're saying?
Yeah, like the Pichis Hashanim notes.
You want me to give it to you now? I can give it to you now, or I can give it to you right after Pesach, whatever you think.
Yeah, well, if it's going to be 2 weeks, we may as well have one and find a bit of time to do a bit of preparation.
Okay,
for
fine.
The next, it's a new sugya now. Does it go on to a new sugya now?
I think that's interesting. Okay, not a bad idea. So I'll send it out. We'll send it out
so that we can start getting familiar with the new things going on. Yeah.
Okay, everyone.
Well, thank you very much.
Right.
Thanks very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. It's really gelling now. Shkoyach. Thanks for coming, everyone. After Pesach, I've got an arrangement with Diane Raskin of London
Wow.
to to get involved, like we were discussing, maybe to give a shiur once a while, or a general shiur, and also to put it out to all the to the communities, to give his bracha askama for this course. I spoke to him on the phone about it. He was quite impressed. And he said, yeah, for sure, after Pesach. So that's coming up. It should add a bit, add a bit more to the shiur, and help us develop it.
Very nice.
I'm related to him. I don't know how I'm related to him, but
he said, I asked him, he said, you're a cousin, maybe your parents, your father's a cousin.
I'm a third cousin. So yeah, third cousin.
Third cousin, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, big family. All right.
Very nice.
Enjoy your preparations for Pesach as well. Besimcha. It has to be all besimcha.
Amen.
Yeah. Right.
Bye.
Yeah.
I'll say Yashar Koyach. Thank you very much.
Koyach.